Right.
All right.
Look at you or the camera?
You can look at me.
My name's Seth Godin. I write a blog and have been for a couple years. I've written about a dozen books that have been bestsellers, and I've started a couple successful internet companies.
And your grand philosophy on life, do you have one?
Well, the philosophy of my work is treat people with respect, customers have more power than ever, great ideas spread. And when you put those three components together, what you realize is that leadership is the new marketing. That leading people, connecting people, creating ideas that people want to follow and share has replaced putting average products for average people in TV ads to interrupt people who don't want to hear from you. So Chris Anderson, the editor of Wired, is way smarter than me and coined a phrase I wish I'd come up with, which is the long tail. And what it says is that if you give people choices, they will take them. What it says is that if someone loves reggae polka music and they can buy reggae polka music, they will. What it says is that in a digital world where shelves are infinitely long, you can give people choice. So if we look at the math behind it, we see that half of Amazon's book sales are titles that Barnes & Noble doesn't carry. Half of Netflix rentals are titles Blockbuster doesn't carry. Half of the songs sold at the iTunes store are titles that have never been sold in a record store. And so when you can go down the tail and offer people huge amounts of variety, that when we look at Wikipedia, which has, I don't know, 100, 500, 1,000 times as many articles as Encyclopedia Britannica, we discover it becomes infinitely more useful because they own the whole tail. This is not about thriving by making one weird item. It's about collecting lots and lots, close to infinity, of choices, Google style, and winning no matter what people are looking for. If you look at textbooks, they talk about industrial revolutions. They put a picture of Henry Ford, or they put a picture of the little girls who used to work at the textile mill being able to go to school or whatever. You don't realize you're in the middle of one when it's happening. When an industrial revolution occurs, fundamental ideas shift. It was an industrial revolution when they invented carts and wagons and horses. It was an industrial revolution when people realized you could mail stuff from one place to another. That we lived through an industrial revolution when suddenly a company in Oshkosh, Wisconsin could actually imagine selling a product in California or India or Europe. And when these ideas take hold, they change everything. And then the next generation grows up thinking, well, of course. So there was certainly the mass production Henry Ford industrial revolution. I would argue there was the Charles Revson Revlon TV commercial, Trouble with Pop-O-Matic TV commercial industrial revolution that said you could be a mass marketer and build a brand of great value. But now there's a new one, and it's happening right this minute, and most people don't sense it, and they just know the economy's cratering or things aren't the way they expected, but they don't know why. And this revolution has lots and lots of components, not just one. But many of them have to do with connecting people to each other. They have to do with the fact that the cost of transferring an idea approaches zero. And when we look at that shift, we realize that the things that used to be valuable, factories, large workforces, stability, edifices, are now liabilities, not advantages. And so it changes the way you get elected president. It changes the way you build a nonprofit. It changes the way you run a school. And we're noticing it in little fits and starts, not all at once, because it's really the gradual revolution, not the instant revolution. But the people who are thriving now and who are winning are the ones who see one of those elements, not necessarily all of them, grab it and run with it. So to pick a really specific, simple example, if you wanted to be in the t-shirt business, you used to have a big silkscreen factory and big clients like rock groups and stuff to make lots and lots of t-shirts at the lowest possible price so you could eke out a living. And you knew that there might be someone just down the street who was also going to own a t-shirt factory, and so your prices had to be low and you were in the commodity business. Well, in Chicago there's a company called Threadless, and Threadless figured out that they could embrace the long tail, which is one of the elements of this new revolution, and say, we can do print runs of one, and that they could go to users, to consumers, and say, go ahead and make your own t-shirt. And then they could add a twist, which is, and then we're going to have a contest, and the t-shirt who gets the most votes gets $1,000. So suddenly, the idea spreads. The t-shirts spread. New people come to look at the shirts, and they have no competition. There's only one place in the world you can get that shirt, that interface, that example, that community. So they lead that tribe of people until they do $30 or $40 million in revenue in a year, most of it profit. Because that's a revolutionary way to sell a t-shirt. The t-shirt hasn't changed, but the way we think about creating it and wearing it and talking about it are totally different. I think in times of rapid change, it's easy to look at the planned life of the previous generation and say that doesn't make any sense. Why would you go to college to get your MRS, to get married, to have 2.4 kids, and then live in the same house and die? Why would you go to college, to go to law school, to get a job at the firm, to stay at the firm for 9 years as an associate, to become a partner, and then die? And we look at the steps of the previous generation and we say, that doesn't work in the face of change. So it's very easy then to persuade yourself that what you ought to do is just live a life of experiences and randomly jump from one thing to another and not necessarily do a lot. And I will take issue with that. I think that if we look at people who are succeeding in times of rapid change, it looks like all that stuff they did in their life led to this moment. So, I used to work for a company that made shrink-wrap game software, a product that hardly exists anymore. And then I used to be a book packager. And then I, dabbled in this kind of direct mail and tried to figure out this and failed at this and failed at this and failed at this. And then an internet company that worked. And if you look at all of them, in the abstract, they're random. But if I had left out any one of those steps, I wouldn't get to do what I do now. And so I think that the planning is not, I know what I want to do in 12 years, so I have to do this and this and this and this. But I think the planning needs to be that life becomes a series of interactions that get you better at creating ideas, spreading ideas, engaging with people with respect so that they want to help you next time, understanding how to use new tools so that when further new tools come, you won't be afraid of them. All of those things are a plan, that you can do them on purpose, that you can say, this job might not work out, this project might not fly, but what will I have learned as a result of it so that I will be better positioned to do the next project? What respect will I have earned as a result of it so I'll be better able to do the next one? So in the book I wrote, The Dip, what I talk about is lots of people start stuff, get 80% of the way, lose interest or lose support, and stop. Well, you can do 50 things 80% of the way and you get nothing. And it's way better to have a life where you're always pushing to the dip. Way better to say, I start a project, I push it to its logical conclusion, fail or no fail, but I did that, and now I have one more brick in that wall, and I can keep building those together. But don't be a dabbler. Don't be somebody who just goes after experience. You can spend a lot of time getting all your ducks in a row, but it's way more important to do something with the duck.